Hi, I'm Dan. In this short video, we're going to look at setting up a job in LanTEK IV using the advanced user interface. This mode lets you set up a job and pre-identify or pre-label a sequence of tests that are then executed by the operator in the field. So this can be done on the cloud software, and that job can be downloaded to the LanTEK, or in this case, you can set it up on the LanTEK itself, which we'll look at right now. The first thing we need to do is change the system to the advanced user interface mode. So currently it's in the standard mode. So we'll go up to the preferences icon and we'll go to operation mode and change it from standard to advanced, hit continue. Now this will change the home screen so that we show the current job and the tests that are in that job. Now, this is a new job that was created, but there are no tests in it. But what we'll do now is create a new job and add some pre-configured tests to that job. So we'll go to the jobs folder. This shows us a list of our current jobs. So we'll add a new one and we'll just call this job pre-config, since that's what we're demonstrating right now, and hit enter. We'll leave the job identifiers turned off in this case, just for simplicity. So now we have a job called pre-config with no tests in it. So let's go add some tests to that job. So we've gone into the pre-config job. We can see that there are no tests in there. To add tests, we click on the plus button. And it's going to ask us whether we want to do copper or fiber tests. So we'll select copper. And we start with a prefix, and then we have a beginning and an end range number. So it defaults to port, but let's call this, maybe we want to call it port, but we want to add a hyphen in there. So I'll just port, and I'll add a hyphen, and I'll hit tab. Now this is the starting range. So the default is 01 to 24. Let's say I'm doing a 48 port panel. So I'll leave it as 01. And I'll go down, and it will, when you edit this, it will default to being the same thing. So let's call this, we'll just enter 48 here. So it's going to create 48 tests that will start with port, dash, and then 01 to 48. We can get advanced. We can put letters at the end of this. So we could have an A and a D, and it would list them as 01A, 01B, 01C, 01D. Then 02A, 02B, and so on. So you can get pretty complex with this naming convention. And we'll hit tab again. So next we'll go and choose our test standard. So we'll click on this. And let's do a TIA Cat6a test. So we'll click on TIA, permanent link. It's our typical measurement. We'll choose Cat6a. And one of the previous videos we discussed this, but we'll see that we have an option of Cat6a, Cat6a Max, and then MPTL and MPTL Max. So first of all, Max means that we are going to do a pass-fail check against the entire range of measurements that can be made with LanTEK. So we always run what are, in most cases, optional tests. Those would be DC loop resistance, resistance unbalanced, TCL, and ELTCTL. So for all categories except for Cat 8, those are optional measurements. The max setting will make the LanTEK do a pass-fail result against those measurements. Now, here's the key thing though. We always perform those measurements regardless of which option I select. So if I select just Cat6a, we still run the TCL, resistance unbalance, and so on. You're just not doing a pass-fail check against those. So that data is there, and that lets you later on use the recertify function in the Anywhere software to maybe change that test later and recertify it as a max test if you need to see if those cables support resistance unbalance or TCL. So those measurements are always made. It doesn't affect the test time. They're just not checked for pass-fail. But we'll go ahead and just select our regular Cat6a, and we can choose our cable type. Okay, so this would be, we have a generic UTP in this case, so I'll select a Cat6a UTP. We can choose a connector brand from here. So we have generic and then multiple different brands. Now there's no model numbers in this list. It's just the brand name. We'll leave that at generic. Now in the cable type, I should have mentioned that we also can choose a brand of cable, and then we'll have multiple part numbers. So if you select one of these, you will see that on the report with that brand and part number of cabling. And that also sets the NVP of the tester to whatever the specifications of that cabling happen to be. If I leave it at generic, I can then edit or modify the NVP setting and tick the box for shield. If I choose one of the brands and models of cable, these selections are grayed out because that information is in the database for that cable type. So you can only modify these settings when generic is selected. So let's say I want to change the NVP to 68, so I can enter 68. And if I know that's what the NVP of this cable is, you can also measure it. So if I don't know the NVP, I can connect the length of it. And you want it to be at least 15 meters or 45 plus feet, 45, 50 feet. So I would enter that here. So we're setting meters now. So let's just say I have 20 meters connected. And then if I were to hit measure NVP, the tester would calculate the NVP based on the cable that's connected, which we're telling it is 20 meters. So we don't want to do that. I'm just going to back out of here. And we'll go back and set this to 68 again. And now that I'm all finished, I will click my tick box up here and confirm that we want port with a hyphen 1 to 48, a 568 permanent link, Cat6a, test limit with Cat6a cabling. I'll hit OK. And now we'll see that the screen here, the list is populated with those 48 test IDs. They're all grayed out because the tester is not connected. And we can see that there's also no color here. If they were run, that icon would be either green or red to show us the pass-fail status of that test as we go through them. So we have this job pre-configured. So now let's just go back to the home screen. And on the home screen, we see that same list. Last test is blank because we haven't performed a test yet, but we see that list of 48 tests here. So when I'm connected, I can execute the test by either pushing the test icon, hitting the auto test button on either handset, or if I have my VisiLink permanent link adapters, I can hit the button on the adapter to run the test. Thank you for watching. I'm Dan Barrera.